This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Hello, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. Kevin Smith here, and these are the top stories we are tracking. Melinda Janke says in Exxon's flaring, shut them down and make them pay. Opposition and EPA silent on Exxon's increased flaring. Dr. Adams says oil giant must explain why equipment failure only occurring in Guyana. Meanwhile, ExxonMobil to escape penalty for increasing release of toxic chemicals into airspace. Minister Barrett says Liza oil production to remain at 120,000 barrels. Meanwhile, 5.7 magnitude earthquake hits Brazil, leaves Lethem with damaged properties. Stay tuned to stay informed.
It's our 14th anniversary, and we're celebrating it with $10,000 off selected LTE handsets. Get the Digicel DL3 Pro for $14,000 or the Digicel DL3 Pro Plus for $17,500. And that's not all. When you purchase these handsets, you will receive a 30-day Digicel Prime bundle. Every purchase gives you an automatic entry into the draw to become a Digicel millionaire. Hurry to a Digicel store today. Digicel, better together.
Weak systems of governance and the absence of the rule of law both combine to form the perfect stage for corruption to flourish. As part of our anti-corruption fight at Kaieteur Radio, we invite you to join us every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. as we embark on the most needed quest to remove the tentacles of corruption from our systems. See you then for our latest program called Governance, Corruption, and Justice.
And now for the news in detail. Would ExxonMobil's subsidiary Esso be picking up the exuberant costs attached to greenhouse gas emissions caused by flaring offshore in its Stabroek block, or would it be the Guyanese people? This is a critical question industry stakeholders say is facing the nation, since the social cost of such reckless endangerment of the environment stands at $417 per ton. It is on this premise that international lawyer Melinda Janke called on the EPA to shut operations at Exxon's Liza Destiny oil vessel and make them pay for the damage to the health and well-being of Guyanese, as well as the environment. Meanwhile, it has been 3 days since ExxonMobil had announced increased flaring at its Liza Destiny operations. Within those 3 days, Guyana has seen statements condemning the flaring from bodies like the World Wildlife Fund, an international lawyer, a conservationist, oil and gas groups, and even industry experts. But when it comes to the EPA, the regulator of Guyana's environment, and the APNU AFC, Guyanese have only heard deafening silence. Notwithstanding this silence, former EPA head Dr. Vincent Adams said that Exxon should explain why this type of equipment failure is only occurring in Guyana, when this country is not host to its first operation or experience in the oil industry. And now let's tell you, Guyana's first year as an oil-producing state was not only hard hit by the economic effects of the COVID-19, but was also characterized by damning levels of air pollution. For more than a year, the nation saw how ExxonMobil's operations at the Liza Phase 1 project contaminated the atmosphere with the burning of over 1 billion cubic feet of gas. This level of flaring was a direct result of a faulty gas compressor. Many expected that in 2021, it would be different after Exxon claimed that the issue was fixed. The hope was that should this occur again, the oil titan would be made to face some type of consequence. However, ExxonMobil will face no punishment for this reckless endangerment of the environment. Confirming this on Friday evening was Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat. And moving on, a 5.7 magnitude earthquake yesterday afternoon hit near Boa Vista, Brazil. Following the earthquake, the Civil Defense Commission, through the National Emergency Monitoring System, said it is monitoring activities in Latham, which felt a tremor. The head of the CDC, Colonel Kester Craig, stated that the agency receives reports of an earthquake, of a shallow depth of 10 kilometers with epicenter near Boa Vista. Craig stated that shallow earthquakes are felt more strongly than deeper ones as they are closer to the Earth's surface. He noted that the exact magnitude, epicenter, and depths of the earthquake will be revised, and that updates will be provided as information is available. It is now 12 hours 5. Coming up next, Venezuelan military last seen in Guyana's waters 4 days ago, says Chief of Staff. 135 investors joined forces to bring pressure on Exxon for change, and ExxonMobil only needs 5 oil vessels to produce 1 million barrels of oil per day.
A lot has happened since oil was discovered in 2015. The petroleum industry is an ever-changing web of oil, gas, politics, and money. It gets complicated sometimes, but we can bring you all the latest developments and include you in the discussions here on Kaieteur Radio. So tune in to 99.1 or 99.5 FM every Tuesday night at 20 hours for Petroleum 101 with me, your host, Kamal King. Kaieteur Radio, the radio with a difference.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. Chief of Staff Brigadier Godfrey Bess revealed that the Venezuelan Navy was last seen in Guyana's waters 4 days ago. Bess was at the time responding to questions regarding the consistency of patrols by the Spanish-speaking nation in Guyana's territorial waters. Bess responded that Venezuelan Navy ships were observed in Guyana's Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ, since January 14th. He went on to state that the Venezuelan military presence was last seen in Guyana's EEZ on January 27th. Meanwhile, the Chief of Staff said that these sightings have been confirmed via Guyanese air patrols. And coming from Boston, Reuters, more than 135 investors managing over $2 trillion are forming a coalition to push ExxonMobil Corp into making sweeping changes, including refreshing its board and focusing more on energy transition, people familiar with the matter said on Friday. The group, which includes pension funds, faith-based investors, as well as traditional money managers, came together in the 2 months since two activist investors called on Exxon to cut costs, invest in more profitable drilling, and clean energy, the people said. The coalition worries that Exxon may not grasp the full extent of shareholder concern and believes the company must take more forceful action now, one of the sources said. And now let's tell you, if ExxonMobil is allowed to continue with its current pace of development, it will only need 5 floating production, storage, and offloading vessels to meet the production capacity of 1 million barrels of oil per day in the Stabroek Block. This would significantly surpass the company's current Stabroek Block production rate target. ExxonMobil said last year the 18 discoveries on the block to date have established the potential for at least 5 FPSO vessels producing more than 750,000 barrels of oil per day by 2026. So far, ExxonMobil has operationalized one approved development, Liza Phase 1. And moving on, despite the fact that Guyana is the jewel in the crown of Stabroek Block partner Hess Corporation, this country will receive none of the up to $90 million in income taxes the company expects to foot around the world for the year 2021. Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer John Riley revealed the company's tax projections during its 2020 Q4 earnings call on Wednesday last week. Get the full details of the story in today's Kaieteur News. It is now 12 hours 9. Time for a COVID-19 update. The number of worldwide coronavirus cases has reached 103.6 million, with deaths at 2.2 million and recovery cases at 75.2 million. Region 4 accounted for 38 of the 60 new COVID-19 infections reported by the Ministry of Health. Regions 1 and 2 were the only regions recording no new cases. The new infections increased the COVID-19 case total to 7,641. 5 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU, 812 in home isolation, 57 in institutional isolation, and 14 in institutional quarantine. The total number of recoveries has increased to 6,591, with 21 new recoveries recorded yesterday. Additionally, the COVID-19 death toll remains at 176. And coming from CNN, U.S. President Joe Biden has issued 2 more executive orders as he continues to roll back his predecessor's agenda. He signed one order on boosting food assistance and another on raising the federal minimum wage to $15. Brian Deese, a director of the White House National Economic Council, said the action would provide a critical lifeline to millions of families. It comes a day after the U.S. president signed a raft of orders to boost the fight against the coronavirus. Meanwhile, a new forecast from the University of Washington's pandemic forecasting team is frightening. Even in a best-case scenario, close to another 200,000 Americans are likely to die between now and May 1st. Meanwhile, more than 430,000 Americans have already died in the pandemic, and even if the entire population started doing everything right, wearing masks, avoiding gatherings, staying 2 arms lengths away from one another, the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation predicts at least 130,000 more people will die in the next 3 months. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening. Coming up next is a short and informative message on the oil sector from the publisher of the Kaieteur News himself, Mr. Glenn Lal.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.